And figure where the camera comes. Yeah. Okay. So namaste, Ammaji. Hello.
Namaste,
Can we
Ammaji.
begin now?
Yeah.
You have all your people online attending, okay?
Look to them.
These are the offline. The offline group are here. Okay. This is all our offline sadhakas, sadhakis who are going to be doing the sadhana today. And we have Ammaji. Okay?
Namaste.
So are you going to say Om?
Om.
Om Sri Gurubhyo Namaha
Guru Manala.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Yes. So shall we begin, Ma?
Yeah.
Chanting the Guru Gayatri?
Yeah.
Fine. Om. Tatparam Paryaya Vidmahe Jnanalingeshwaraya Dhimahi Tanno Guruः Prachodayate Om Yogamaharishi Swami Gitananda Guru Maharaj ki Jai. Om Puduvai Kalaimamani Puduvai Shakti Yogacharini Ammaji Meenakshi Devi Bhavanani Guru Mata ki Jai. Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Hari Om. That's a nice long Om. So, Amma, what we are going to do is that maybe you can get a chair.
Yes, I will go that side. Yes, sir.
So, what we are going to be doing tonight, Ma, is first we are going to have a small set of bhajans. Then I will talk about Swami Kanakananda like you used to do.
Yeah.
Because tomorrow morning is his birthday. And then we will have a short break at 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
And from 9:30, we will go to the Patanjali Kutir and do the home chanting.
Oh.
So you should be able to hear us from. I think you can hear us. Okay, we'll be loud enough, I think.
I would.
And then tomorrow morning we'll have the Homa. And I've asked Vijay Rangan to come and bring you there so you can attend the Homa and bless us all.
Oh.
Would you like to be there?
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah.
Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha
Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha
Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha
Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha
Ganesha Sharanam Ganesha
Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha
Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha
Ganesha Sharanam Sharanam Ganesha
Sharanam Sharanam Mahesha
Mahesha Sharanam Sharanam Mahesha
Sharanam Sharanam Mahesha
Mahesha Sharanam Sharanam Mahesha
Mahesha Sharanam Sharanam Mahesha
Mahesha Sharanam Sharanam Mahesha
Sharanam Sharanam Mahesha
Mahesha Sharanam Sharanam Mahesha Saesha Sharanam Sharanam Saesha Saesha Sharanam Sharanam Saesha Saesha Sharanam Sharanam Saesha Saesha Sharanam Sharanam Saesha Yogesha Sharanam Sharanam Yogesha Yogesha Sharanam Sharanam Yogesha Yogesha Sharanam Sharanam Yogesha Yogesha Sharanam Sharanam Yogesha Vignesha Sharanam Sharanam Vignesha Vignesha Sharanam Sharanam Vignesha Vignesha Sharanam Sharanam Vignesha Vignesha Sharanam Sharanam Vignesha Sharanam Ganesha Sharanam Mahesha Sharanam Saesha Sharanam Yogesha Sharanam Vignesha Sharanam Ganesha Ganesha Oh Is that okay?
Yeah.
You liked it?
Yeah.
Shall we sing Hey Jagabantan?
Yeah.
Will you join me for that?
Yeah.
Nilachal, we may have to switch from Airtel to Vodafone. Okay. It should show Vodafone. Switch it to Vodafone because Hey Jagabantan, Devaki Nandan. Hey Jagabantan, Devaki Nandan. Alak Niranjan, Hare Hare. Alak Niranjan, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Jagabantan, Devaki Nandan. Alak Niranjan, Hare Hare. Alak Niranjan, Hare Hare. Alak Niranjan, Hare Hare. Alak Niranjan, Hare Hare. Om Namo Narayanaaya, Om Namo Narayanaaya. 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 Hey, Jagabantan,
Devaki Nandan, He Jagabandhan Devaki Nandan, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare. Om Namah Durgaya, Om Namah Durgaya, Om Namah Durgaya, Om Namah Durgaya. Om Namah Durgaya, 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 Om Namah Durgaya. Hey Jagavantan Devaki Nandan, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare. Om Namah Shivaya, 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 Om Namah Shivaya. Namah Shivaya, Om 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 Namah Shivaya. Hey Jagavantan Devaki Nandan, Hey Jagavantan Devaki Nandan, Hare Hare, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare, Alak Niranjan Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Hare, Hare Hare. Oh. Is that good?
Yeah.
What do you have to say about it?
Very good.
Want to sing Sharavana Bhava?
Yeah.
Would that be nice? Oh, oh. Sharavana Bhava Shiva Kumara. Sharavana Bhava Shiva Kumara. Shanmuganatha Jaya Jaya Shanmuganatha. Shanmuganatha Jaya Jaya Shanmuganatha. Bhava Shiva Kumara. Sharavana Bhava Shiva Kumara. Shanmuganatha Jaya Jaya Shanmuganatha. 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 Sharanam Sharanam Shanmuganatha. Sharanam Sharanam Shanmuganatha. Sharanam Sharanam Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam Kartikeya. Subramanyam Kartikeya. Sharavana Bhava. Sharavana Bhava. Sharavana Bhava. Shanmuganatha Jaya Jaya Shanmuganatha.
Shanmuganatha, Jaya Jaya Shanmuganatha. Shanmuganatha, Jaya Jaya Shanmuganatha. Shanmuganatha, Jaya Jaya Shanmuganatha. Sharanam Sharanam Shanmuganatha. Sharanam Sharanam Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam Subramanyam Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam 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 Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam 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 Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam 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 Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam Subramanyam Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam 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 Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam Subramanyam Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam 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 Shanmuganatha. Subramanyam Shiva 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 Subramanyam Har 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 Subramanyam Shiva 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 Subramanyam Har 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 Subramanyam Shiva 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 Subramanyam Har 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 Subramanyam Shiva 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 Subramanyam Har 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 Subramanyam Shiva 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 Subramanyam Har 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 Subramanyam Shiva 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 Subramanyam Har 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 Subramanyam Shiva 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 Subramanyam Har 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 Subramanyam Shiva 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 Subramanyam Har 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 Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Shiva Har Har Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Shiva Har Har Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Shiva Har Har Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Shiva Har Har Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Shiva Har Har Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Shiva Har Har Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Har Shiva Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Shiva Subramanyam Har Shiva Shiva Har Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Shiva Subramanyam Har Shiva Shiva Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Shiva Subramanyam Har Shiva Shiva Har Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Shiva Subramanyam Har Shiva Shiva Har Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Shiva Subramanyam Har Shiva Shiva Har Subramanyam Shiva Har Har Shiva Subramanyam Har Har Shiva Shiva Har Subramanyam 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 Shanmuganatha Subramanyam 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 Shanmuganatha Subramanyam Shanmuganatha Subramanyam Shanmuganatha Subramanyam Shanmuganatha Subramanyam Bhava Shiva Kumara Shanmuganatha Jaya Jaya Shanmuganatha. Oh, some same sound, Subramanyana. Some same sound, Subramanyana. Some same sound, Subramanyana. Oh, that was fun. A long time ago, and we are talking about getting up this side. Times that go back to the early 1900s. And actually, if you want to put it on something also, no, sir, it's okay. But hands high. Long time ago, in the early 1900s, there was a educator par excellence, a professor
or whatever they were called in those days. But today he would be known as a professor, and he was working in a college in Banaras. Banaras has many names. It's called Varanasi, it's called Kashi, it's called Banaras, and said to be one of the oldest cities of humanity. Very ancient, antique, living museum. The other day you went to Chidambaram, and I was telling one of you, I think Cassandra is talking that saying, these are places where you realize it's like you're in a living museum. Because these things are thousands of years old, and in most places of the world would be just put in glass, display, shelves, and you say, this is what it was like thousands of years ago. Here people are still walking there, using it, praying there, keeping it alive. I think one way to describe India is a living museum. It's one way to describe it. Varanasi, where the Ganga, what is known as the Ganges, but for us it is Ma Ganga. She is our mother who gives us life. And it is a very special place because one of the earliest universities in India, an organized university in modern India, I must correct myself. Ancient India had Nalanda, Takshashila, all these amazing universities where students from all over the world used to come and study. You had Chinese travelers coming all the way to India to study in those universities. From Greece and other parts of the world, they used to come. And then, of course, the moment India got invaded, all of that was destroyed. Libraries were burned down, buildings were destroyed, people were killed. The usual story, which all cultures have seen enough of that. But in modern India, Madan Mohan Malviya was an amazing educator and philanthropist. He decided to start what was to become one of India's first universities. India was still under the British rule at that time. And it was initially a college, as happens with most of these educational things. They're first like schools that become colleges, and colleges that become universities. This is how it goes. It's only in modern times that people who have money go and start a university straight away. In those days, it was a natural organic growth. And in one of those institutions that was soon to become the Benares Hindu University, BHU, there was a professor, Ram Gopal Mujumdar. Mujumdars are Bengalis, and the Bengali people are very educated, very intelligent, and when you meet the Bengali men, even today, they are very dignified. They hold themselves with great dignity. They have great intelligence. And that is why people like Rabindranath Tagore, who was one of India's most, who created Shantiniketan in West Bengal. Ram Gopal Mujumdar was a professor and doing his job, teaching and all, and lived in Banaras with his wife and son, a young boy. And one day, while his journey back home after the teaching, he was going back home. In the distance, he saw this smoke and thought, looks like something's on fire. As he came closer, he realized it was on his street. And as he came closer, he realized it was his house. His house had caught on fire, and in that fire, both his wife and child had perished. This trauma, this loss drove him mad and lost control and ran away. For many years, nobody heard of him, didn't know what happened, and he just disappeared from society. And then people started to talk about Swami Kanakananda Bhrigu, who was becoming very popular his speak non-stop for days on end. And he would go to different village fairs. In those days, the villages had these days, 2 week, 3 week fairs, and they would have a stage, and the Swamis would sit and give the spiritual discourses, and people would come, listen, go, come back, sleep, get up and go. They would continue non-stop for 10 days, 2 weeks, and he used to do that non-stop. He had what is called Bach Siddhi, the capacity to speak continuously without going everywhere. Now, most people after 10 minutes you get bored and you want them to shut up. But with Kanakananda, he came for days and days and days. Swamiji inherited that. Amma used to talk about Swamiji taking the students on temple tours. They would go off for 3 days around South India, go to the different temples and all of that. And Amma used to say, we would carve in the outside the ashram, and Swamiji would chant a Ganesha mantra, maybe sing a song or two for Ganesha, and then start talking and telling stories. So the next 5 days, he would not stop. Amma used to talk about that until they came back to the ashram. Got out the car, he would be on a non-stop talkathon. Swamiji like that. Talking about
Yeah.
it. But did you ever get bored with them?
No.
Okay. Swamiji inherited that Siddhi. Amazing. Swami Kanakananda had, during his time in the foothills of the Himalayas and forests of what was in those days old India, met with his guru, Swami Ananda Bhrigu, who was a student of Swami Kanakananda Bhrigu, and this lineage goes all the way back to one of the great Saptarishis called Maharishi Bhrigu. Maharishi Bhrigu has just the Adava Veda, scripture in our culture, all the protective, healing chants, they all arise, and in fact, we say the source of all other teachings. Tomorrow morning in the Homa, I will be chanting one of the verses from the Atharva Veda, that is the protective chant related to Lord Ganesha. That will be part of our fire ceremony. Now, while this was going on, Swami Kanakananda was slowly getting to know the Swami, who had this amazing intellect and ability to explain the traditional teachings in a contemporary way, thanks to this modern education. Swamiji was growing up as a young boy in what is today Bihar and Maharajganj. His father was a Patna High Court. Swamiji's mother was from Ireland. She was Irish. And her father was part of what was the, forces, position at that time. He was part of that, and he had retired, and he loved India so much, he had decided to stay in India and settle down. And so his daughter had got married to this lawyer, and Swamiji and his brothers, he had a sister and some brothers, I think 2 brothers and a sister, as well as the other kids in the neighborhood. The mother was the one who was teaching them. You didn't have too many schools in those days in the rural parts. And so she was not only the mother, she was also the teacher. She was the educator for the family. And tragically, when Swamiji was 9, she died. That is something that I don't think Swamiji ever got over. He got over a lot of things, but I don't think he ever got over his mother's death, which was just around Christmas. So every Christmas, we knew that there would be a huge volcano eruption at some point, and we would be walking around there. Blow it. He would plan this beautiful Christmas lunch. He was an amazing cook. that just as it was getting ready, somebody would do something stupid and everything would get cancelled. It used to always, like around Christmas, I don't think he ever got over that. Did he? Huh? It's interesting because with all his qualities, with all his knowledge, with all his sadhana, I think that trauma stayed with him. And no wonder he left his body just after Christmas on the 29th of December. Very interesting. He said, it was not just the loss of the mother. He said, we lost a teacher. Now there were nobody to teach us. And Swamiji loved to learn. And he said, there's nobody to teach us anymore. We were lost. Now Swamiji's grandfather, this retired Irish army man, had taken on an Indian name called Janaka. Janaka is the king who's the father of Sita. And I told you that story the other day of he's the king who's a yogi. And the young Rishi comes and says, how can you be that? And he says, carry the pot of oil without spilling. So Janaka was the name of Swamiji's grandfather. That was the Indian name he had taken. And Swamiji's mother had acculturated with the name Leelavati. And they had got married in what is called the Arya Samaj rites. Arya Samaj is the only organization that sort of does practice what could be considered conversion. Because in Hinduism, you cannot really convert. There's no conversion, there's no missionization and catching people and saving souls and saying you're going to convert. Hinduism doesn't have that, which has been one of the issues that has also been its strength and its weakness, sort of one of those things. But the Arya Samaj is a group started by Dayananda Saraswati where they have certain purification ceremonies that the person can go through and then become part of the Hindu cultural ethos. And so she was called Leelavati. So she had passed away and no one knew what to do. And in Swamiji's ancestral home, many of the Swamis and the wandering sadhus would stop by because they knew that Janaka was a generous man. They knew they would be able to stay a few days, they would have a place to stay, they would get some good food. And most probably, like would be done in most Indian homes, the Swami would be given some Guru Dakshina and some orange robes and some fruits and some money. And, you were treated well. So word of mouth, everybody knew that is a place. If you go by that home, a couple of days you'll be taken care and, everything goes good. This is part of the Indian culture. Even as a kid, I remember so many sadhus would come to Swami Madam, meet Swamiji, stay there for a week or 10 days. They get the food, they participate, they are honored, and then they go on their way. Nowadays, you don't meet any of these sadhus. You just see beggars wearing orange. It's a pitiable situation. We used to see this. Remember all the sadhus, you could go to town and you'll see 5 or 6 by the time you got to town, walking down the road. Amazing spines, erect spine with that beautiful tejas, that luminosity. Today you have beggars sitting there saying, give me some money, It's weird. It's weird. Swami Kanakananda one day came there. So Swami Kanakananda comes and he is talking to Swamiji's grandfather, and the grandfather says, well, I know you have been part of education, you have been a professor and all, and these kids don't have anybody to teach them. Why don't you stay here for a few years or whatever, and teach these kids, and you will have a place to stay and we'll take care of you. And so Kanakananda says, okay. And they emptied the back staples where they had some horses. I don't know where the horses went. But that became the ashram. And so Swami Kanakananda lived there and all the kids shifted there with him. And for the next 7, 8, 9 years, whatever it was, that's where Swamiji stayed and learned from him. And he ended up staying that whole period. I think that even later on, he continued to stay at Swamiji's ancestral home. I never really got to the end of that story. So I really don't know the story, but Swamiji did take Amma there once and not too sure what happened, but anyway. Swami Kanakananda was such a charismatic human being that Swamiji fell totally in love with. In fact, at one point, Swamiji asked Kanakananda, I wish I'd been a girl, then I could get married to you. Huh? The love that you have for someone because you just want to be with them completely, that adoration. And Swamiji used to say that, and Swamiji had met all the big gurus. He met every one of them, and he said the only enlightened man I ever knew was Swami Kanakananda. I know what he feels like because for me, other than Swamiji and Ammaji, nobody comes close to it. And I've known a lot of the modern people, and most of them are just good businessmen. They're not spiritual masters. They're spiritual MBAs, I call them. Masters of Business Administration, but in spirituality. During that period, Swamiji and Kanakananda, the other kids were also there, but somehow that Guru Shishya, Guru Chela relationship developed so strongly. Swamiji has often written about it, talked about it. And Swami Kanakananda passed on to Swamiji this body of knowledge. Even now, I don't know how they could do what they did in that period of time. Because, it is so deep, so deep, so deep. And I think what happened is like happens in the Mahabharata and the episode of Gita where Krishna gives the Gita to Arjuna. The story goes that the two armies are lined up on either side and Arjuna doesn't want to fight. He has an anxiety panic attack and has a meltdown and Krishna has to counsel him. That's actually what the Bhagavad Gita is. It's a counseling session. And 18 chapters, 700 verses. Now, I don't think these two armies were just waiting there. They're there to kill each other. And, you are busy giving all these teachings. Nobody's going to keep quiet, okay? I think what happens is time stops still. It's one of those type of things. So for the armies on either side, it may have seemed like 10 minutes, but it was like 10 years for what Krishna and Arjuna were discussing. And that is the type of thing I believe happened with Swamiji and Kanakananda, that though it was maybe 7 to 9 years that they were together, I think it was a lifetime of teachings that was passed on. Again, the question I've always had is Swamiji was a young boy. How could he have comprehended what these teachings were at that age? And that is why I think it's not that Kanakananda taught him every technique, but he opened him up to that connection where he could then receive the techniques, receive the concepts when he was ready for them. Again, it's about knowing the password. You need to know the password to your bank account. You don't need to hold all your bank account money in your purse all the time. Right? Keep it in the bank, but know the password. And it is this type of teaching, I think, happened between them. Swamiji used to talk about Kanakananda and tell many stories. One, of course, was the story where Kanakananda was also known as Kannoya, the sleepless saint. And that is the version that Yogananda, in his autobiography of the Yogi, talks about. That he goes and meets Kanakananda and he calls him Kannoya and Ram Gopal. Said to have been a sleepless saint. He never needed to sleep. And so these young kids said, we are going to find out if Guruji sleeps or not. And so, like we have a roster for who's going to keep awake and chant at this different points of time, these kids kept a list and decided each would stay awake for a period of time and to watch over Guruji whether he goes to sleep. Kanakananda sitting there, eyes closed in deep meditation, that's all. Doesn't lie down at all. And these kids, they are getting tired and one by one falling away. And one of the nights, after 3 or 4 nights of this vigil that they were keeping, Swamiji says, it was the middle of the night and he was watching Kanakananda and he said, suddenly he saw Kanakananda start to levitate. So he was sitting on a platform and in Padmasana, and he starts to levitate, and Swamiji is watching from the corner of the room, and he starts to levitate, goes up close to the ceiling for a few minutes, and then slowly comes back down and sits. Swamiji got so frightened, he scared, he ran back to his house from the Gurukula. And his father's like, well, I haven't seen you in months. How come you're here? No, nothing. I felt like coming home. And he said, for the next few days, whenever he met Kanakananda, it was very difficult because, he was trying to avoid him because this was too much of an experience. And finally, Kanakananda says, Ananda, which was Swamiji's name as a kid, Ananda, looks like you have not slept well for the last few days. That's all he ever told him. Some good ego lessons were there. The Swamiji got mad at his guru one day and decided he's never again going to talk to his guru. You know how people are, I'm going to talk to you. And so later on that day, in the afternoon, they're walking down the fields. And in Indian fields, on both sides, you have all the crops, and there are these small paths that you walk, mounds that you walk on, and you come up this, you fall into the water that is there with the plants and all. And so he saw this narrow path, and Swamiji is walking, and who should be coming on the opposite side with Kanakananda? Swamiji is like, I am not going to look at him, I'm not going to talk to him. But how do you pass by? So just as they come close, Swamiji is like looking down and going again. And just as he passes Kanakananda, he, feels someone catch him by the back of his neck. You know how mother and dogs capture and lift their puppies, or cats also do that. Yeah? And he just lifted up and pushed down in the mud, and he says, never again walk by me without saying namaste. We are talking about 100 years ago. The relationships were different. You couldn't do that today without having a God knows what type of child abuse case come against you. Nowadays, it would be too much. Huh? Can you imagine Swamiji being pushed? Swamiji had a very nice story of Kanakananda's perspective of truth. Because, we always are caught up with, I know the truth. And according to me, or in my view, people, when they start that, whenever people start saying, I think from my point of view, I'm like, okay, it's your perspective, it's not the truth. Because we all have perspectives from where we are. It's called a Drishtikona. A Drishtikona is a point of view. It is the view angle. So depending on which part of this room you're sitting in, what you see is different. That's all. And of course, if you're under the bed like Bukash normally is, his perspective down there is very different. And when it comes to the truth, there's always a very big challenge in understanding the truth, knowing it, and sharing it. And so Swamiji used to talk about a time when Kanakananda was living in the Himalayas. And he had one of his students living and taking care of him. A Shishya was there with the Guru. And they're living in one of the caves in the mountains, someplace up in the foothills. And one day an old tigress, a very old female tiger, who had no teeth left and basically no claws, anything, just ready to go any day. That creature comes to the cave and ends up being fed by Kanakananda whatever food they were having, and felt happy to have some food and became part of the team in the cave. And so the tigress got food and shelter, and Swami Kanakananda got a warm blanket for winter because he would sleep with the tiger. And so the warmth of the tiger was keeping him warm, and it was a very symbiotic relationship. Now, at that point, in the villages down in the foothills of the Himalayas are not what they are today. Nowadays, they are a business district with mines and highways, and dams, and the whole thing is spoiled. Because it was quite a rural village forest area and lot of tigers and all were there in those parts. And so there was a tiger that had become a man-eater in that region and was attacking people and people were missing and all. And so all the villagers banded together and couple of dozen villagers with all sort of weapons and noise-making instruments and lamps and whatever they had were going around the forest trying to see if they could get this tiger and kill it because it was attacking people. And so they come to this cave where Kanakananda is sitting outside and they say, Swamiji, very nice to meet you, seek your blessings and all. Swamiji, there's been a man-eating tiger around the village and we are out looking for the tiger and we are going to kill it because it's causing a lot of trouble. So Swamiji, have you seen any tiger recently? He's like, no. But if I see any tiger, I will definitely let you know. So the village fast track to him and then they all go on the way. Now the student who's sitting in the cave with Swami Kanakananda really gets angry. He is like, Guruji, you have been talking about yama niyama. You have said we should follow truthfulness. You said we shouldn't be speaking lies and you have told a lie to those villagers. There's a tiger inside the cave and you have told them you have not seen a tiger. And how can I follow you when you are not being the role model you are meant to be? And Kanakananda says, you stupid idiot. That's not a tiger, that is my warm blanket. He said, that's my warm blanket, that's not a tiger. And I always think about this because, that tigress was not the tiger the people were looking for. What they thought of tiger is this ferocious beast that was terrorizing the village and killing people was the tiger they were looking for when they said tiger. Now imagine Swami Kanakananda had said, well, yes, there is a tigress in the cave. Even before he could have said, but she is not the one you're looking for, they would have gone in and killed her. This is a very important message that Swamiji used to share. Ammaji has shared the stories, and I continue to share them because in our desire to know the truth, we often forget actually what the truth is. The truth from the perspective of the villagers was very different when they thought of a tiger as opposed to the tigers which was in the cave, which was no longer a tiger at all. Yes, it looks like a tiger. If you do a biological species taxonomy, she's a tiger, yes. But is she a tiger anymore? No. And I think this lesson is a lesson, and this is very much when part of Swami Kanakananda's teachings that Swamiji has passed on to us, that do not get locked in the words, but try to understand the meaning that is implied in the words. Do not get locked by taking things as they are written or as they are taught, but understand the context in which they are taught. Context is vital to understand reality. I often tell the story of the tomatoes. When you talk about a tomato, right? When you talk about a tomato is officially classified as a fruit, not a vegetable. And that is why knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit. But wisdom is not putting it in fruit salad. And I think this is a very, very important teaching to keep in mind. Because we have confused knowledge and wisdom, we have confused perspective and truth, we have confused everything because we lack context. What is the context in which that teaching is given? What is the context in which a statement is made? What is the context of what is happening? Is vital if we are to expand and enhance our perspective so that we can have a multi-dimensional perspective. That is what Swami Kanakananda has taught us. Swami Kanakananda was a master of three aspects. One is called mantra. Man means the mind. Tra is a tool. Mantras are tools for us to harness the power of the mind. We harness the power of the mind through mantra. The second tool is tantra. Tan refers to energy. A tool through which you can harness energy. You can work with the energies that are there. And then the third is yantra. Yan refers to the cosmic matrix. Harnessing the power of the cosmic matrix by understanding it. Harnessing the power of the mind, harnessing the power of energy, harnessing the power of the universal matrix. Mantra, tantra, yantra. All of these three came together in Swami Kanakananda's teachings. Which is why in his teachings we find that every practice that we do, and I saw Bukash leading the class today. Kanavi got a very beautiful photo, and Bukash is demonstrating how you should do your Shashahasana or Kukriya Pranayama, whatever you were doing at that point. I put it into my chat GPT and said, enhance the picture. And it came up with a very funny one of Bukash. He has one of these typical balances on his head and he's up and he said, now lift your paws. Hinachal has a comic series on Bukash that he often puts out. He was disappeared. He's out protecting the ashram. Does Bukash protect you?
Yeah,
Huh? You think he does?
yeah.
Okay, fine. If you say so, I trust you. I trust your statement because you know a bit better. Huh? Did you ever meet Kanakananda? You didn't meet him, right? You would have liked to have met him, right?
Yeah.
Huh? Swamiji often felt that Swami Kanakananda was a reincarnation of Kamli Swami. And it does make sense. Kamli Swami left the body 152 years ago in December. And 152 years ago, tomorrow is Kanakananda's birthday. So, well, logically, it could have happened. Because if Kamli Swami left this body and a couple of months later, Kanakananda is born, could be. I have issues with that. Because my issues are that I believe Kamli Swami was also enlightened and I believe Kanakananda was enlightened and I don't believe they had to come back again. So that is my perspective. Shankaragiri Swamigal, who was the guru before Swamiji at the Madam, he used to often feel that Swamiji was an incarnation of Kamli Swami. Shankaragiri often said that. He said Swamiji was the incarnation of Kamli Swami. I think you are the incarnation of Subhama.
No.
You can deny it, but that's the story I'm putting out. Because I believe that when I look at the statue, it's you sitting there, not Subhama. Okay? I have a beautiful picture of you. You know that?
Do?
Yeah. And I'm getting it framed. It will come tomorrow so you can see it.
Oh.
It's a very nice picture. Everybody likes it. I put it on Facebook and everybody likes it, including your sisters. Some of your sisters have said how nice it is to see the elder sister doing good. Anandaji was the eldest of 12, a Roman Catholic, so you can imagine, eldest of 12 in the family. So her mother was a saint. If you manage 12 kids, you are a saint. Your mother was a saint. She lived to be 100. Just passed away a few years ago, and I remember my grandma. I was in the USA for a conference, and I decided to phone and talk to her. And she's like, "Where are you?" I'm in California. "Why don't you come over here and help me clean up the house?" Used to say our India family. That's how she used to refer to. But imagine, going back to the Midwest America and saying this Swami is going to be my husband. Huh? I think your mother was okay with it. I don't know about your father. I think he blew his lid. As long as he didn't take out his shotgun, we are fine. Americans and guns are a very big problem. Swami Kanakananda is someone who, in my perspective, was able to codify the teachings of the great rishis and put it in a contemporary framework because of his education and intelligence. This was further taken forward by Swamiji because when Swamiji was 17, he said he started to see his father and Guru having deep discussions often. Now, these two men never talked much because Swamiji's father felt the Guru had taken the kids away from the family, sort of. They were always there, never at home. And so, you never really had those two guys sitting and talking. And so Swamiji is like, what's happening? And then one day they say, well, we have both had a discussion and we feel we should go to the UK and take up medical studies. And Swamiji was packed off to London in those days. His guru used to tell him, he said, Ananda, you have two gifts. One is your hands that heal. You have healing hands. And he said, and the second is your skill in communication, Bach. And he said, those two have to be put to maximum use, and the best place is medical service. And that's where then Swamiji was sent off with a letter, and they said, there is this friend of ours who will help you when you get there. So Swamiji gets there and goes around London trying to find this address until finally someone tells him there's no such address in London. Opens the letter and finds a letter from his father saying there's no friend there, but we wanted you to get there. We have helped you get there. Now you're on your own. Not an easy way for a 17-year-old to start life. And that is why Swamiji was very much a self-made person in that way. And developed amazing skill of cooking. He, in fact, had a very, very beautiful restaurant that he used to run at one time. I don't know how he did what he did. He was practicing medicine, he was running restaurants, he was teaching yoga. And I'm like, seriously. Sometimes it's a bit too much. How did Swamiji do all of that?
I don't know.
But he was a good cook, right?
Yeah.
I know some of the meals he would make would be amazing. He had a very nice pudding he would make. He would make a very beautiful dish, vegetable dish, which used to be so wonderful. His guru, Swamiji, of course, as a young boy said, I want to take sannyas, I want to be a Swami, I don't want to go through life. And his guru, he said that, he kept on saying it, and finally one day, very seriously, he talked to his guru saying, I really want to become a sannyasin, a Swami. And he says his guru laughed so much.
he felt insulted because his guru started laughing so much at him that, uproarious laughter. And the guru says, seriously, you have so much to do in life. You have to go out there, you have to work, you have to have a family, you have to be in the world and have all this experience. And he said, when you are 54, you will be ready for that. Until then, go out there and slog as you are meant to slog. I think, this practicality was something that I think Kanakananda taught Swamiji. A strong practical approach and pragmatic, practical, rational approach towards life. It was never, this utopian dream that you think everything's just going to happen and do nothing about it. It was very clear. Swamiji inherited that from Kanakananda, that try to understand what needs to be done, develop the skills to do it, and do it. Finished. You don't expect somebody else to do it. You need to know, you need to be aware of what needs to be done. You should develop the skills to do it. You know that the pipe is leaking and you know it needs to be fixed. Develop the skills to fix the pipe and fix it. Don't sit around waiting for God to come and fix the pipe. That's not going to happen. And I think this teaching of being very mindful of what is happening around us is something that Swamiji really brought into his teachings from Kanakananda. And so it was never that, just sit quietly and, the Kundalini will arise and you will be enlightened. It was none of that stuff with Swamiji. Swamiji was very clear. These are things you need to do and you do it. If you do it, you are going to have this experience. You don't do it, you don't experience it. Finished. That's all. And I'm not going to do it for you. That's not why I'm here. Swamiji would often say that. He said, I am not here to win an election. I'm not here to win an election. I'm not here to get a popular vote. I'm here to help you be the version of yourself you ought to be. Nothing else. And I think this type of no-nonsense approach, a very clear approach, pragmatic approach, he inherited from Kanakananda. Of course, when Swamiji came to Pondicherry, it became part of Kabli Swami Madam, then another new chapter starts, because here you have the whole South Indian Saiva Siddhanta tradition going back to Agastya. I'm not aware of this type of mergence of a tradition that comes from the Bengali, North Indian, Tantric tradition from Bhrigu, and then here you have the South Indian Saiva Siddhanta of Agastya coming together. And that is why the uniqueness is such that at times it can be frightening, because when you're very unique, you can often feel alone because you don't fit into the crowd. The other day, Divya was talking about this in our Yoga Darshana course with Anandi. And Divya was just talking about how, often at times she finds she doesn't fit into her age group, the peer group, and what they want to do. And so then there is a tendency, if you don't fit into it, you start to feel lonely. And there the challenge is how not to be lonely and realize that you are part of something bigger. You are all one and not alone. It's a very important thing, because I tell her I've gone through it enough. So, if I could go through it, you can. That's all. You're a better version of me. So you can definitely do it better than I did it. Not easy. But when you belong to something which is very unique, you often wonder, why is it not like everything else? Why is it not like everything else? Because there's nothing like it. And then you start to, because it's easy to find safety in numbers. It's easy to find safety in numbers, which is why, people want to be part of the herd. If you're in a herd, you always feel safer. That is why animals move in herds. The predatory animals don't move in herds, usually, but the other animals usually. Because there's a sense of safety in the herd. in human beings, it becomes the mobs. And in mobs, the biggest problem is the intelligent level goes down to the bottom. The most intelligent people, when they are in a mob, become the most stupid. Individually, they are intelligent. In a mob, they become stupid. I've seen this again and again. In fact, I often feel that even when people work together, you have to be careful when you make teams. Because what we found is that in a team, you have three intelligent people, and then you put them together and they lose their intelligence. It's weird. You would think that all the three intelligence would come together and make it superior intelligence. It actually goes the other way. You see this often, and I don't know what it is. It is like sort of I am part of the team, and so I don't have to think anymore. I'm part of the team, so I don't have to use my brain anymore. It's like somebody else is going to do it. It's this someone else will do it. Whereas if you're on your own, you have to do it. I talk about the Indian government bureaucracy in that way that there's a story which could easily be true, but it's not a true story, but could easily be true in India, where a man is walking down the street and he sees one man digging a hole by the side of the street. And then there's a second man with the first man who's coming and filling the hole. And so you have the first man digging a hole, the second man filling the hole. Then they go another 5 feet. The first guy digs a hole, the second guy fills the hole. Another 5 feet, the first guy digs a hole, the second guy fills the hole. And this guy is like wondering what's happening. He says, what are you people doing, digging holes and filling it? They say, well, we are from the forest department. Okay, forest department. What are you doing? We are planting trees. I don't see a tree. He says, yes, the guy who's to plant the tree is on leave today. This is just so typical. The guy who's to plant the tree is not this, so the guy who's to dig the hole will dig it. The guy who's to fill it will fill it, but there's no tree there. Huh? Typical Indian bureaucracy. There are some images, I'm sure they are computer generated, but these are so true that it could happen in our country that there's a road. Welcome back. Got it done?
Yeah.
Beautiful. So there is a interesting one of a road, and they have laid the road, and on the side of the road they paint the white lines so that the boundary. And there's this new road, and someone has gone and painted the line, and in between there is a small branch that has fallen on the tree. A tree branch has fallen on the road. And so you have this line, and then the line goes around the branch and then it goes back. And this is absolutely what happens here. We won't move the branch, we'll just paint around the branch. I find a lot of this in modern yoga. And it's painful at times. Because, if you have not learned how to breathe in the first place, how can you do any pranayama? And people go into a class and are taught pranayama who have no idea what the lungs are. They have never felt what expansion of lungs is, and they're doing nostril and nostril breathing. I'm like, what are you doing? There's no breath. And they're doing this. I call it finger nose exercise. They have good fingers and good nose, but no prana. And it's because there's no process. There's no process. There is no understanding that you have to build on a firm foundation. And this is why one of the first things we teach in our tradition is learn to breathe into different parts of your lungs. Become aware that there's a front, side, back of the lung. There's a low, mid, high. Because when you become aware, then your mind can go there. When your mind goes there, the prana will go there. And then when you do pranayama, it makes sense because it will be pranayama. Otherwise, it is not pranayama. This type of rationality, Swami Kanakananda And then, of course, Swamiji. And then Ammaji's genius, of course, is of codifying Swamiji's teachings, putting them into a new structure. Because Swamiji often, in his immense creativity, I absolutely resonate with him because I could go up to take a class and have no idea what I'm going to teach and end up teaching a 3-hour class with whatever comes to the mind that day. Swamiji would have that type of thing. He would go and, you never knew whether you would be standing on your head or standing on your toes that day. That type of amazing creativity. Again, very structured, but I'm talking about something. And then Ammaji is like, let's put it into a much more systematic order. She systematized it very strongly. I would say Swamiji codified the teachings, but Amma systematized it. And the way she put it together, because when Swamiji had his back accident in the mid 80s, suddenly, he was, till then, he was teaching all the classes, managing the ashram and all, and suddenly he was bedridden. For 6 months, he was in the bed, and every 4 hours, you had to turn him onto the front and onto the back, onto the front, onto the back, onto the front, onto the back for 6 months. And suddenly, Amma had to do everything. And it's at that point, I think, that she said, well, I better systematize it because otherwise it's not going to move forward. And I think that's where that whole systematization came. That is why what is in yoga step by step, and then the ways Amma would run the 6-month course would be quite different. People would get very confused because in step by step, you start off with Sukhapurvaka Pranayama and all of that, and then you come here and you start with the Samastiti asanas. And the people are like, where does it come? We thought, we were going to do the step by step in the practice session, and it's not that. Because that was geared towards a certain outcome. This is geared towards a different outcome. And so the process changes based on that. Let's sing a very beautiful bhajan that Swamiji used to sing for the Guru on these days or nights, invoking all the Gurus of the Bhrigu tradition. And of course, I have created a new bhajan where I try to bring both of them together. I'll see if I can remember it and sing it tonight. Ananda Gurunatha Ramana
Ananda Ramana
Ananda Gurunatha
Ananda Gurunatha
Ananda Gurunatha Ramana
Ananda Gurunatha Ramana
Ananda Gurunatha
Ananda Gurunatha
Ananda Gurunatha Ramana
Ananda Gurunatha Ramana
Ananda Gurunatha
Ananda Gurunatha
Gitananda Gurunatha Ramana
Gitananda Gurunatha Ramana
Ananda Gurunatha
Ananda Gurunatha
Gitananda Gurunatha Ramana
Gitananda Gurunatha Ramana
Ananda Gurunatha
Ananda Gurunatha
Kanakananda Gurunatha Ramana
Kanakananda Gurunatha
Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Ramana Kanakananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Dishananda Gurunatha Ramana Vividishananda Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Vividishananda Gurunatha Ramana Vividishananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Purnananda Gurunatha Ramana Purnananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Purnananda Gurunatha Ramana Purnananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ramana Ananda Gurunatha Ananda Gurunatha What do you have to say about that?
It's good.
It was very good.
Yeah.
You want to say anything about Swami Kanakananda for us?
You don't read? No. No, I don't know.
You know, but I think you're just not sure how to say it, right? You know a lot. Because you have taught us whatever I have said is what you have taught me, right? I don't know anything other than what you taught me. Who taught me?
No.
No. Even no. You taught me.
Mm,
So who taught me?
you.
No. It's like, I think it would be Jackie Chan, fresh shovel. Who are you? I am who? No, I am who and you are you. Who's who and who's you? Just show me my phone. Let's see if I can remember that. I created my present. I got comments. You're playing with both the phones, or what is happening?
That phone got hang up, so sorry. So now the battery will go off of this one, so I need that one.
Let's see what we can do with that. I normally don't use Zoom on this phone, so maybe that's it. You want this kind of thing, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Saranam Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Ananda Saranam Guruve Saranam Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Ammaji Guruve Saranam Gitananda Saranam Ammaji Guruve Saranam Gitananda Saranam Ammaji Guruve Saranam Ananda Guruve Saranam Ammaji Guruve Saranam Ananda Guruve Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Ananda Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Ammaji Saranam Guruve Ammaji Saranam Ammaji Guruve Saranam Gitananda Guruve Kanakananda Saranam Vividishananda Saranam Kanakananda Saranam Vividishananda Saranam Purnananda Saranam Ananda Gurve Saranam Purnananda Gurve Saranam Ananda Gurve Ananda Gurve Saranam Gita Ananda Gurve Ananda Gurve Saranam Gita Ananda Gurve Adi Gurve Saranam Ananda Gurve Saranam Ambaji Gurve Sharanam Ananda Gurve Sharanam Kanakananda Sharanam Vividishananda Sharanam Kanakananda Sharanam Vividishananda Sharanam Purnananda Sharanam Ananda Gurve Sharanam Purnananda Sharanam Ananda Gurve Sharanam Ampali Swamigal Sharanam Ampalavana Saranam Ampali Swamigal Sharanam Ampalavana Saranam Manika Swamigal Saranam, Shankugal Swamigal Saranam. Manika Swamigal Saranam, Shankugal Swamigal Saranam. Velu Swamigal Saranam, Subramanya Saranam. Velu Swamigal Saranam, Subramanya Saranam. Shankara Saranam, Gitananda Gurube Saranam. Shankara Saranam, Gitananda Gurube Saranam. Ananda Saranam, Gurube Ananda Gurube. Ananda Gurube Sharanam, Ananda Gurube Saranam. Gitananda Saranam, Ammaji Gurube Saranam. Gitananda Saranam, Anandaji Guruve Saranam. Kambal Swami Saranam, Mangalavana Saranam. Kambal Swami Saranam, Mangalavana Saranam. Manika Swami Saranam, Shanmuga Swami Saranam. Manika Swami Saranam, Shanmuga Swami Saranam. Velu Swamigal Sharanam, Subramanya Sharanam. Velu Swamigal Sharanam, Subramanya Sharanam. Shankaragiri Swamigal Sharanam, Gitananda Gurve. Shankaragiri Swamigal Sharanam, Gitananda Gurve. Ananda Gurve Sharanam, Gitananda Gurve. Ananda Gurve Saranam Gitananda Gurve. Ananda Gurve Saranam Gitananda Gurve. Ananda Gurve Saranam Gitananda Gurve. Ananda Saranam Gitananda Gurve Saranam. Ammaji Saranam Gitananda Gurve Saranam. Ammaji Saranam Gitananda Gurve Saranam. Ammaji Saranam Gitananda Gurve Saranam. Ananda 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 Gurve Saranam Gitananda Gurve. 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 Ammaji Saranam Gitananda Gurve Saranam. Ammaji Saranam Gitananda Gurve Saranam. Ananda 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 Gurve Saranam. Oh.
That's a work in progress, okay? Still, I'm trying to get it, but I bring both of them together. I bring Swami Kanakananda and so that both can come together, okay? I think we will have a short break now, so people can move around, and from 9:30 we'll be doing the all-night home chanting. Are you going to stay awake and chant?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll be sitting there hearing you chant from here, okay? We'll be in the back, the Patanjali Kutir. Okay? You have to chant loud enough that we can hear you. Okay? Does that seem like a plan?
Yeah.
And tomorrow morning, Oma, you'll come.
Oh.
Yes. உங்களுக்கு சொல்லிடுறேன் காலையில் ஒரு 6 மணிக்கு ஃபோன் பண்ணி ஞாபகத்துக்கு சொல்லிடுறேன் அதை நீ போயிட்டு வர சொன்னேன் 7 மணிக்கு அம்மா அங்கே போகுது
Samasta Sukhino भवन्तु सर्वे जनाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्तिः 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 ॐ